Welcome to Harpin on Rugby. My name is Jeff Pagano, and joining me is someone whose voice you'll certainly recognize if you watched any coverage in recent years. He's making his first appearance on the pod. A warm welcome to Mr. Justin Middleton.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here. How are you doing today?
Very good, thanks. Great to have you on. I've been following your Twitter account for a while and been hearing your commentaries as well. So been great to have you on. And before we talk about anything else, we've first got to find out about yourself and how you got to be a rugby commentator here in Ireland.
So it all basically began for me when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and rugby was on quite a lot in the living room. My dad took me to a lot of games, and for me it was the South African commentator, probably Hugh Bladen, mixed with the rugby player Joost van der Westhuizen. And there was just something about Hugh Bladen's voice, the way, it's a simple name, well, not a simple name in South Africa, van der Westhuizen, but it's just the way he said it. And he used to keep saying it. Like he would say it 6 or 7, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, maybe 2 or 3 times every time van der Westhuizen got the ball. Van der Westhuizen, van der Westhuizen, van der Westhuizen scores. So I think, that and my dad taking me to games really made me fall in love with the game. And I always associated the games with the commentators' voices. And, probably not many years after that, I would mimic the commentators. I'd learn, like, it's just ridiculous. Like the greatest try of all time, that was actually 50 years ago by Gareth Edwards. I would learn that off by heart, as ridiculous as it sounds. It's like learning your favorite song.
Yeah.
So anyways, at the time, I didn't realize that, I really wanted to be a commentator. Something just made me, love the commentators, love their voices. And they were almost like heroes to me, more than the players themselves. And then 15 years later, you're talking 15, 16 years later, once I started going to university and I was studying my degree and all these things, something just made me realize, like, when am I going to start commentary on the side? Like, I need to try start this. And the reason for that was, I can remember the day clearly, driving to work in 2016 on the radio, and a South African DJ said on the radio, we keep watching the Sevens every single weekend, and the Wellington Sevens just took place. Where are South African commentators on the world stage? And I remember just driving to work and thinking, this is a sign. I need to start. I need to start. And I just thought to myself, but how do you start something like this? And then I thought at the time, you know what, I'm going to get hold of my favorite commentator. My favorite commentator changes every 2 or 3 months, but at that specific time, it was Tony Johnson in New Zealand. And it took forever to get his email, had to maybe follow up with him once or twice. But he replied to me and he just said, look, yeah, because I basically asked him, is there any hope for somebody who's never been in this background, they haven't been on the radio, like, is there any hope for a person like me? And he just said, well, what you've got to basically do is write down the players on a sheet of paper and commentate in front of the TV as if you're at the game. So then I thought, I eventually got this reply, so excited, from Tony Johnson. And I read through it and I was like, but geez, man, like, where's this going to go, And then I left it for 2 or 3 weeks, kept bugging me. And at one of my friends' braais, South African, so barbecue, basically, for those of you who don't know. Yep. I told him about this email, and he just said to me, look, yeah, you got advice from TJ. You've got to take it, and you've got to, do something with this. And then I just thought, no, stuff this, I'm going to start. So what I did for 25 games in 2016, I still have this footage and this commentary, very, very embarrassing to go back and listen to it. But for 25 games, and all of these were live games, I prepared for the games 5 days before. Every day after work, I would do a little bit of preparation, like I was commentating for SuperSport, which is basically like South Africa's premier sports. as if I'm at the game. I recorded my voice into my phone. The next day, I used to download the game, take the audio out, put my voice into the clips, and I did that for 25 games, and then so it was from beginning of 2016 to the end of 2016. Then I was like, I need to do something with this. I can't just keep doing this, because I actually started like an Instagram profile and things like that. And then I thought, what, I'm going to reach out to South Africa's best commentator, rugby commentator. He still is their best rugby commentator, Matt Pearce, and see what he thinks. So I reached out to him, and he said, you know what, there's this company called School Sport Live that just started streaming school sports. I'll take your demo, because I actually met him for coffee. And he took my demo afterwards, and he said, I'll chat to them, I'll get back to you. And about 2 weeks later, he said, got the green light, you can come, and they're willing to give you a chance to go and do some school commentary. What he did tell me in that meeting that I had with him, he said to me, there's nothing like a live game, doing it at the stadium when people are actually listening. And he was very, very right, because although I did so much practice by myself and I learned a lot of discipline in what goes to the craft, it's something completely different. So doing those school games, the first ever school game I did, I thought, what have I got myself into here? I remember, because there were comments on the live feed, there were no critical comments actually of me, but like when you're in that situation and you're diving into the deep end and you see a whole lot of comments coming through on the side, you don't know any of the players. This is under 16 rugby, no numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, what the whole Scott got into? What have I got myself into here? But it was an amazing feeling, because straight after the game, I was like, that was flipping epic. I absolutely loved it. And, fast forward for 3 years after that, I eventually became School Sport Live's main commentator. I did about 100 school games, and life changed in 2019 for me, because I got an opportunity overseas in Ireland through my day job to go and work. And quite frankly, I probably would have left earlier if it wasn't for my rugby commentary. But I made the decision that I had to go for my family, and I couldn't pass the opportunity. And I did realize that it was a massive threat to my commentary career. I had already started getting advice from people abroad telling me my accent's going to be a massive barrier, things like that. And I made a promise to myself when I moved that I'm not going to let go of this. And how I got my first chance in Ireland was, I had noticed that Amy Barrett-Tyrone, the URC referee, had done some refereeing in Ireland. And I just messaged her, because I'd been chatting to her, because she used to referee a lot of school games. She still does. And I just said, know anybody in Ireland that would be worth reaching out to? And she gave me the contact of David Keane, who's involved in the IRFU. And I'd already started messaging him the moment I got a job in Ireland. I was just like, I'm coming, like, if you have any opportunities, please get me involved. And then I got to Ireland November 2019, and I just thought, where the hell am I going to get my first gig here? Where is it going to come from? I don't know where this is going to come from, but I hounded people. And what kept on coming up, and like, it's so confusing for foreigner, the way these leagues work, because they make absolutely no sense. Just with the way they're titled. But obviously now I'm used to it. I know exactly how things work. But I noticed this All Ireland Junior Cup stuff. And I thought, and they had a few highlights on it, and I thought to myself, why don't they just stream this or like put some commentary? So I reached out to David Keane, and I'm like, there's a final coming up soon, because I think it was the semi-finals of the Junior Cup around January 2020. And I just said to him, like, maybe you guys should just look at like putting some commentary around this. Like, obviously I wanted to put commentary and use me,
I happen to know somebody. Yeah.
But anyways, I planted the seed. And I'm not saying maybe they were, planning on streaming it. But about 2 weeks later, on the Wednesday, He says, Justin, I've got good news for you. We're streaming the All Ireland Junior Cup at Coolmine Rugby Club between Kilfeacle and Dromore. And I'm going, who are these teams in my head? But I don't care. I'm so excited. I haven't been here even 3 months and I'm doing a game. And the person who gave me the opportunity was Ross O'Donoghue. And I'm very, very thankful to him. He gave me a follow-up gig as well, Ireland clubs versus Scotland clubs about 2 weeks later. And then, and this is why it's so important to take opportunities, he put my name forward to Old Belvedere Rugby Club. And Old Belvedere got in touch with me. They had just started streaming. Declan Cassidy, who did a lot of their streams, was the production guy, and they just ended up using me for all their home games. Obviously, that was during COVID. So I did 1 or 2 games for them before COVID. There was a bit of Leinster. There was like a new Leinster kind of AIL league that was formed during COVID, but then it got wiped out because, you know, we had like level 10 COVID then, whatever you call it. But then eventually, you know, everything settled. The AIL was back on in 21, 22. And Old Belvedere used me, and I got a lovely run of games. And I just ended up doing as many games as I could. Lansdowne also used me quite a lot last year. I did quite a lot of stuff for Old Wesley before things started to get pretty busy. And yeah, that's how it started. Yeah.